What is positive discipline? I wanted to start today by sharing a quote from Dr. Maria Montessori herself about discipline. She once said, "Our aim is to discipline for activity, for work, for good, not for immobility, not for passivity, not for obedience." This quote speaks to the essence of Montessori's approach to discipline. In our classrooms, discipline is not about compliance or control. Instead, it is about fostering an environment where children are actively engaged, motivated by a sense of purpose, and encouraged to work independently and responsibly. In Montessori, discipline is connected to personal growth and self regulation. It's about empowering children to make positive choices, to be active participants in their own learning, and to develop the skills that they need to become responsible, thoughtful individuals. Rather than enforcing passivity or obedience, we aim to nurture a sense of initiative, curiosity, and respect for oneself, others, and the environment. Positive Discipline is a program developed by Dr. Jane Nelson. It is based on the work of Alfred Adler and Rudolf Dreikurs and designed to teach young people to become responsible, respectful, and resourceful members of their communities. Positive discipline teaches important social and life skills in a manner that is deeply respectful and encouraging for both children and adults. And that adult includes parents, teachers, child care providers, youth workers, and others. Jane Nelson gives the following criteria for positive discipline: is kind and firm at the same time, helps children feel a sense of belonging and significance, is effective long term, teaches valuable social and life skills for good character, including respect, concern for others, problem solving, accountability, contribution, and cooperation. And it invites children to discover how capable they are and to use their personal power in constructive ways. The tools and concepts of positive discipline include the following: mutual respect. Adults model firmness by respecting themselves and the needs of the situation, and kindness by respecting the needs of the child. Identifying the belief behind the behavior. Effective discipline recognizes the reasons that kids do what they do and works to change those beliefs rather than merely attempting to change the behavior. Effective communication and problem solving skills. Discipline that teaches and is neither permissive nor punitive is the aim of positive discipline. Focusing on solutions instead of punishment and encouragement instead of praise. And then finally, encouragement that notices effort and improvement, not just successes, and builds long term self esteem and empowerment. Positive discipline upholds a main belief that misbehavior or undesired behavior is nothing more than a child's lack of understanding of how to find belonging and significance, or a lack of social skills. The idea is that children should be taught social skills directly and to also see these skills modeled by others, especially us as adults. This happens very organically in a Montessori classroom, both by the guides and by the older classmates. When children feel supported and encouraged in their environment and know that they belong and they feel significant, they thrive. With guidance, they discover how capable they are. They take an interest in others and treat them with kindness and respect. And they develop a sense of responsibility to their community. When children feel discouraged, though, they often demonstrate undesired behaviors because they have a mistaken belief about how it is they should go about experiencing a sense of belonging and significance. As Rudolf Dreikurs observed children, he identified four mistaken goals that children adopt when they're feeling discouraged: their undue attention, misguided power, revenge, and assumed inadequacy. Undue attention is when children seek to keep others busy with them or to get some kind of special service. Misguided power is when children aim to be the boss or to be in control. Revenge means that they seek to get even because not belonging is hurting to them. And assumed inadequacy means that the child has given up and they just want to be left alone. Children are often unaware of these beliefs behind their behavior. When they engage in undesired behaviors, they're speaking in code. This code is decipherable, though, if we as adults learn how to identify these beliefs behind children's behavior and then respond effectively, meeting the child's needs rather than just stopping the behavior temporarily, as we would through rewards or punishment. What you're seeing on your screen is known as the mistaken goal chart. It provides a way to identify a child's mistaken goal, the beliefs behind the goal, and the keys to providing the child with the encouragement and support that they need to find the belonging and significance in their community that they're seeking. The first step to using the chart is to consider how you're feeling as the adult. This is the first clue to the child's mistaken goal. You can then consider how you tend to react in those moments. This script that develops between us as the adult and the child, found in the second and third columns, are the second clue in identifying the child's mistaken goal. You can then identify the child's mistaken goal to help you more effectively address their behavior. We understand the child's belief behind their behavior then, or what Dreikers call their private logic. This is what they believe that they need to do in order to find that belonging and significance. Then we're able to consider how we might be contributing to the situation. In column 7, the coded message helps us interpret what the child is really asking us for as they're searching for that belonging and significance. And finally, in column 8, we're provided with proactive and empowering responses that help us meet the child's social needs that have been uncovered through this coded message. This chart is in the book Positive Discipline, and you can also download a free copy online. There are a few different versions of this chart, one specifically for children ages 0 to 3, another for what Dr. Jane Nelson calls children with special needs. And so you want to take a look at these charts to try to figure out what the mistaken goal or the belief behind the behaviors that you're seeing are. It is important to note that not all socially ineffective behavior is misbehavior. Some children are neurodivergent, which may cause them to behave differently from typically developing children. Their behavior may not meet social norms and might be misinterpreted as undesirable or misbehavior. Their actions, though, are not driven by a mistaken idea of how to find belonging. Instead, their behavior is caused by a physiological difference over which they have very little or no control. So then, how does positive discipline align with Montessori philosophy and principles? Montessori and Adlerian principles are deeply connected. The only difference was that Maria Montessori focused on an educational method that followed the child with dignity and respect, while Adler and Dreikers focused on behavior and using discipline methods that were based on dignity and respect. Adler became an advocate for peace and for the revolutionary idea that children are deserving of the same dignity and respect as adults. He believed strongly that children's personalities were shaped in the first 6 years of life, much like Maria Montessori, and that restrictions on children's freedom and self-assertion were a direct cause of later psychological challenges. I hear a lot of overlap, don't you? Both Montessori and Adler believed strongly in a holistic view of human development, considering cognitive and social factors instead of just physical symptoms. Montessori and Adler both promoted the need for mutual respect, cooperation, and social responsibility as the foundational elements of human development. They both believed that people become who they are based on the decisions that they make, and that a child's environment influences those decisions and can support their optimal development. For Maria Montessori, this optimal development came from the educational environment, and for Adler, the source was the social emotional environment. Both Montessori and Adler saw each person as a unique individual and an inseparable part of a greater whole, including their family, community, planet, and universe. They both observed that children's behavior is goal oriented. Adler believed the social group of human beings is to belong and feel significant. That's our goal, whether that's within our family, our classroom, or our social group. In 1977, Montessori educator Chip DiLorenzo attended one of Dr. Jane Nelson's workshops on positive discipline. This was the beginning of a lasting connection between the two. Over the years, they've stayed in touch, sharing their ideas and insights about education. And then in 2015, their collaboration came to fruition when they worked together on a book entitled Positive Discipline in the Montessori Classroom. This book combines Montessori principles with the strategies of positive discipline, creating a powerful approach to guiding children in a way that nurtures both their independence and sense of responsibility. By blending these two educational philosophies, Chip and Jane were able to create a framework that empowers educators to cultivate a classroom environment where children thrive, take ownership of their behavior, and engage in meaningful work. There are tons of practical examples here from Chip's practice in his own Montessori classroom where he's tested these positive discipline strategies and really shows how beautifully they're an organic match for all that we do as Montessorians. Here's a look at some of the interesting overlaps and how these positive discipline skills can meld into a Montessori classroom environment. We're not going to have time to cover all of them, but I wanted to highlight just a few that I think are really important, starting with the idea of connection before correction. The fundamental idea behind this principle is that children are more open to correction when they feel safe, when they trust that adults are on their side. The rule is relationships first. This doesn't mean that adults should be permissive in the name of building relationships. As a matter of fact, permissiveness erodes trust. In positive discipline, we focus on kind and firm practices that empower educators to respond to children's unwanted behavior effectively while building strong, trusting relationships. Some intentional practices that help build a sense of connection in the classroom include involving children in creating routines and ground rules, creating classroom traditions, including birthday walks, holiday celebrations, and annual lessons and activities. These are signposts for children that really help them to see themselves as something bigger. In Montessori classrooms, we have children for 3 full years, which provides us this unique and amazing opportunity to develop these traditions that will be remembered by children and their families for years to come. Embrace your sense of humor. When adults share their sense of humor with children, laugh at themselves and at children's jokes, or share their own jokes, they make themselves vulnerable. Humor lightens the stress of difficult situations. By using our sense of humor, we've allowed the child to see that they can trust us. And it's an effective way to address these challenging behaviors and to get to the heart of the matter while also connecting deeply with a child. Listening deeply to another person creates a profound sense of human connection. When children feel heard and understood, they feel that sense of belonging that we all seek. We're going to talk about how to do that more specifically in just a moment. You should also check in first for understanding before assuming. This is a simple yet profound way to develop that trust, cooperation, and connection with children. Too often, we make assumptions about what we've seen and act immediately. But often, there's more to the story than meets the eye, especially when a child is exhibiting challenging behaviors. Take time to have fun together. There's so much to do in so little time. but it's important to enjoy every moment that we have with children. With that in mind, try to set aside special time that you can spend with individual students one on one and in smaller groups to help foster connections and to develop deeper relationships. Have lunch with one student each day. Take a moment to ask a child about their interests or activities outside of school. Do a special classroom job with one student each day, like cleaning up the snack area together or straightening the shelves. Take time to acknowledge and encourage each child's uniqueness. This lets them know that they're accepted and valued for who they are. We then become a bridge connecting the child to the classroom community. Give children opportunities to contribute to that classroom community meaningfully. Look for things that you do that a child could do. Focus on each student's individual strengths and provide them opportunities for them to use those talents to help others. Ensure classroom jobs are meaningful so that children feel a sense of purpose and responsibility. Focus on progress, not perfection. This encourages the child and creates a growth mindset. And finally, be vulnerable with children. We all make mistakes. When we're able to be open and honest with our mistakes, children learn that it's okay to make them and to admit when they make them. Maria Montessori talked about this type of humility and vulnerability as being an essential quality of the prepared adult. Encouragement is the next positive discipline principle that's implemented organically in the Montessori classroom. Everything we do in a Montessori classroom, from preparing the physical environment to structuring daily routines to interacting with children, all of it is designed to encourage children. All of the tools and principles in positive discipline have the same aim at their root: to encourage children to discover their capabilities. Verbal encouragement is just one way to do that. A hot topic amongst Montessori parents and caregivers and educators is the difference between praise and encouragement. Verbal encouragement focuses on the process, focuses on the child's effort, connects their effort with the result, focuses on the deed, not the doer, and focuses on trust. Praise, on the other hand, may cause children to feel pressured and manipulated. They may feel that the adult doesn't trust them. They might be afraid to fail or to let their parent or educator down, or to feel that they're not being seen. Encouragement helps create a connection. Children feel confident, trusted, supported, and capable. The chart shown here shows a few examples of praise versus encouragement. Instead of saying something like, "I'm so proud of you," you can say, "I appreciate your help." Or, "You're so smart." You could say something like, "You reached your goal." There are also many nonverbal elements of a Montessori classroom that demonstrate faith in the child's capabilities and give heart to them as well, showing encouragement in ways that aren't verbal. We promote their independence through practical life activities, through self-correcting materials, isolating difficulty in lessons and materials, allowing them to work at their own pace, through grace and courtesy lessons and experiences, and allowing for choice, and also the multi-age classroom. All of these things inherently show the child that we trust them and encourage them to keep trying. The next positive discipline principle found in Montessori classrooms is maintaining limits. When adults become effective and consistent in maintaining limits, their behavior becomes predictable to students. Predictable behavior is what fosters self-regulation. Children are able to respond appropriately because they know what behavior to anticipate, especially if the behavior is kind and firm at the same time. Maintaining limits consistently and respectfully generates a feeling of safety and invites cooperation as children navigate the social emotional environment of the classroom. It is important, first and foremost, to remember that setting limits is most effective if children are involved in the process. Doing so creates an atmosphere of mutual respect and social interest. Then, when it's time to maintain a limit, students are more cooperative since they have helped set them. They have a sense of buy in. Furthermore, when they feel a sense of ownership or social interest, they will help maintain limits with their peers as well, removing you as the enforcer of the ground rules and creating this sense of community that holds one another accountable. Montessori uses the power of silence to also maintain limits. For young children, you might use a single word or a short phrase such as walk or please use your walking feet, or even nonverbal signals like a tap on the shoulder, the peace sign to ask for quiet, or fingers that look like you're demonstrating walking. A note can also be used with older children, asking them to change their behavior or to do something different. Observing and doing nothing can also sometimes help. Just sitting and watching and being present can be enough for a child to recognize their behavior and redirect themselves. Another strategy to maintain limits is redirection. The guide simply and respectfully prompts a child to shift their actions from a less productive activity to a more productive one. For example, if a young child was taking on a material that was too challenging for them and would likely create a mess, you might simply say, I have a really special work that I would like to show you. It's called the brown stair, and lead the child gently towards the appropriate material versus correcting them and saying something like, you haven't had a lesson on that yet, or that's a little too challenging. Let's try something else. Distraction is another strategy to maintaining limits. The guide distracts the child or a group of children rather than correcting them. For instance, if the children are getting too loud at a group time, the guide might start singing a song very quietly until the children join in. The educator doesn't mention the children's behavior, and the children's attention is shifted to a more productive and engaging activity that brings everyone back together. Offering limited choices is another way to help maintain limits in a Montessori classroom. For instance, if it's time for a child to get their shoes on, it's not a choice. They need to get their shoes on to be able to go outside. Instead, the choices might be asking if they want to put on their right shoe or their left shoe first, or if they want to put their shoes on inside or outside. Another positive discipline strategy utilized in Montessori classrooms is the power of questioning and listening. Learning how to listen without offering advice is the key to unlocking the communication gap that can develop between adults and children. Too often, as adults, we listen to talk, to fix, or to advise, rather than really listening to what a child is saying. When this happens, we miss their message. We miss an opportunity to discover what's in their heart and an opportunity for them to discover it too. This leads to children feeling disregarded and unheard. Instead, we can try reflective listening. First, we listen. Maybe we ask something like, what happened? Or, is there anything else? Maybe we repeat what we heard, validate their feelings, and pause to give them time to reflect and respond. The idea of asking versus telling goes along with this concept. This helps children engage in problem solving very naturally. For instance, instead of telling a child that they need to go get their coat, you might ask something like, what do you need if you don't want to be cold outside? Or, what's the weather like today? Do you need to take anything else with you to school? This might be my personal favorite positive discipline strategy that's found in a Montessori classroom: class meetings. They have many benefits. They build a sense of community and connection. They build cooperation and buy in from students. They create shared responsibility for solving problems and for managing the classroom. They provide insight that a teacher may never get, even through very careful observation. They build empathy, communication skills, leadership skills, and problem solving skills. They create safe environments for personal responsibility. They also create environments where mistakes are an opportunity to learn. And they provide a natural, positive time out, a cooling off period, if you will, as something as simple as just writing a problem down and knowing it will be addressed later at a class or community meeting is enough to help a child self regulate. Class meetings differ from other methods of group problem solving or community meetings in 5 ways. One, they're designed to help develop critical social and life skills that extend far beyond the classroom. Two, the agenda is created by the classroom community. Both students and teachers can put topics on the agenda. Three, students have specific and important roles in facilitating the meeting. They might be the note taker or the person who checks to see what's on the agenda keeper. Maybe they're the timekeeper. Number four, the whole class is involved in solving problems, even if they're not directly involved in them. Those who are not directly involved help lend perspective, offer support, and learn by helping others. And finally, the specific format provides structure, freedom of expression, and effective support to create an environment where students experience that sense of belonging and significance that they're seeking within their classroom community. I wanted to close with another quote by Dr. Maria Montessori. She once said, "Discipline must come through liberty." This quote beautifully captures the essence of the Montessori principle of freedom within limits. In a Montessori environment, children are given the opportunity to make choices, to take responsibility, and to engage in meaningful work, all within a framework of respect and boundaries. And some of these principles can be pulled directly from positive discipline. When children are respected as capable members of their classroom communities, they naturally develop an inner discipline. They're not working for external rewards or for fear of punishment, but because they understand their actions have value, both for their own sense of accomplishment and for the well being of the greater community. This approach helps children internalize discipline, making it a natural part of who they are, guiding their actions as they grow into responsible, thoughtful individuals, which is the goal for Montessori, for positive discipline, and I'm sure for all of us as parents, caregivers, and educators of children. As we wrap up today's session, it's important to remember that positive discipline and Montessori both focus on understanding the child's needs and their development. By observing and connecting with each child, we can guide them with respect, encourage their independence, and create an environment where they feel empowered to take responsibility for their actions as they find that belonging and significance that they're seeking. We're curious. What has been your experience using positive discipline in your Montessori practice? How have you seen children respond when they're given these tools to manage their own behavior with kindness and respect? We'd love to hear your reflections and experiences in the comments. And remember, we have many other resources to continue supporting you on your Montessori journey. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on social media to stay updated. Thank you for joining us again today. We hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.